Hello, I hope you are well. Today I want to talk about Masks, a New Generation. Masks is a role-playing game about teenage superheroes, and it's a game system that I really like. When I first started this channel, my first videos were all pictures of the characters from my first Masks campaign. The character I played in that campaign was Kid Manta. He was created using the Protégé playbook. I really liked the concept that I came up with for Kid Manta. I liked his relationship with his mum, I liked the fact that he was a second generation superhero, and I liked his suite of powers. However, Masks has a rule where no two players can use the same playbook. So what was I going to do if one of the other players wanted to play a protege? Clearly I needed a backup plan, and my backup plan was to create character concepts for every single one of the remaining core playbooks. As it happened, none of the other players did choose a protege, so I got to play my first choice after all, and those concepts went back to sitting on a shelf. Today, I thought it might be fun to take those concepts down, dust them off, and draw some of them. And at the same time, I want to share with you some of the backstories that I came up with for these characters. Growing up in Halcyon City was both the best and worst thing that could have happened to Finn Martin. Halcyon City was the home of the superheroes, and on the one hand, Finn got to spend every day in the presence of his idols. On the other, every day reminded Finn that he was not flying through the sky with them. Instead, he was skateboarding through the streets, armed with his trusty camera, taking snapshots of supers to include in his scrapbooks. Matters only got worse when Finn won a Holland scholarship to attend Nicholson High. Nicholson High was an academy for superpowered teenagers, but as part of an agreement with the city, it also offered select places to non-powered teens as part of a Rising Stars program. Finn had earned his place thanks to his smarts and tech savvy, but his fellow students wasted no time in reminding him that he was no super. That all changed on the night of the crash. Seeing lights in the sky, Finn snuck out of the house to investigate. He skated down to the docks just in time to witness an alien craft tumble from the sky, crashing through a warehouse and engulfing the area in a huge fireball. Finn crept closer, but he was not the only one on the scene. Agents of Aegis were already laying claim to the wreckage. Not wanting to get caught, Finn beat a hasty retreat, but not before snatching up a cube of some blue-black material. The cube turned out to be a core processing unit of the craft, though much of its memory had been damaged in the crash. It asked Finn to rebuild it, but he didn't have enough parts to make a full spaceship. He didn't even have enough to make a car or even a bike. He could, however, make the cube part of his new skateboard. And so the radical kid was born, cruising around Halcyon City on Ollie, his superpowered sentient skateboard. And now it's Finn's time. He's going to prove to the heroes of Halcyon City that he has as much right to be here as any of them. Well, he'll prove it eventually. The Beacon Playbook is all about a non-powered teen among their super-powered colleagues. They want to be here, but they're not sure they deserve to be. I'll be honest, the Beacon Playbook is probably the one that appeals to me the least of the core 10, and I had the most trouble coming up with a concept for this playbook. That said, I'm pretty happy with the way Finn turned out, particularly his Marty McFly-inspired look. I think he could be a lot of fun to play. Vondel Quaid was living the dream. Handsome, popular, star quarterback. He looked set to get a sports scholarship to the prestigious Halcyon City University. His dad saw things differently. Vondel's grades were nothing to write home about, and his dad threatened to pull him from the football team if those grades didn't improve. Fortunately, Serena Bradley was only too willing to help. Serena had been trying to get Vondel to notice her since first grade. But she was a nerd, not a cheerleader, and beneath the attention of a jock like Vondel. Now she saw her chance and she took it, offering Vondel private one-on-one tutoring. And, despite her fumbling efforts at flirtation, absolutely nothing happened besides the tutoring. Serena knew she had to step up her game. She invited Vondel on an after-hours tour of Holland Science Industries, where she was interning. At first, Vondel was interested, but that interest soon faded as he realized he understood very little of what he was being shown. He only perked up when he found a sample of new, bizarrely coloured mushrooms, which Serena had to assure him were A. not edible, B. not recreational, and C. definitely not performance enhancing. Finally, Serena presented her piece de resistance, Holland Science Industries' prototype telepod. She launched into a lengthy explanation, but Vondel tuned her out. "Just show me," he said, stepping into a pod. So Serena turned the pod on. And in a flash, Vondel's world crumbled. He disappeared, as did the mushrooms he was still holding. When he reappeared in the adjacent pod, however, his DNA had been fused with that of the fungus, transforming him into a horrible fungal monster. Handsome, popular Vondel was no more. Dreams of sports stardom had gone up in smoke. All that remains now is Spore, a reluctant hero. And the only person who cares for him is Serena, the girl who cursed him to be a freak in the first place. The transformed used to be human, but are now something else, obviously and permanently. They have to learn to deal with their new life and new body, and also the way others treat them differently as a result. Unlike the Beacon playbook, I really like the Transformed. There's a lot of potential for angsty roleplay here, which is right in my wheelhouse. I knew going in that our Masks campaign would be set in the 1980s, so I tried to work some 80s influences into these character concepts. For example, Marty McFly for Finn, and here I borrowed from the Fly movie starring Jeff Goldblum. There's a bit of Swamp Thing and some of D&D's Myconids in the mix too. Danny Laughlin hated his life. It was bland and boring and just too, well, nice. A quiet suburb, a white picket fence, apple pie mum and dad, annoying younger sister, and a Labrador named Spot. Danny wanted cool and edgy, but no matter how much he tried to rebel, his parents continued to be patient, loving, and oh so understanding. It made him sick. So he isolated himself from his family, spending his time at the arcade or locked in his bedroom hacking into computers via the public telephone network. One night, after yet another one-sided row with his parents, Danny succeeded in hacking into the mainframe of Holland Science Industries. He couldn't believe his luck. This was a goldmine of advanced research and technology. He cracked his knuckles, got ready to explore, and then the connection crashed. There was a storm raging outside, but Danny didn't care. He needed to get back into that mainframe. So he went outside in the pouring rain and shimmied up the telephone poles to access the switching equipment directly. As he worked, however, he was struck by lightning and hurled across the street. It didn't kill him, though. Instead, the lightning activated a latent genetic mutation. He found he was able to create constructs of solid light, a power he used to manifest video game characters to fight for him. In a homemade black costume and with the codename Freak, Danny took his power to the streets. As a vigilante, he could finally be the cool, edgy figure he had always wanted to be and command the respect he deserved. Maybe. The Delinquent playbook is all about rebelling against authority. Freak was actually the first concept I came up with for masks, before even Kid Manta. However, I play a delinquent-like character in a D&D campaign, so I never seriously considered playing a delinquent in Masks too. Regarding the drawing itself, I'm not overly happy with the figure on this one. It just doesn't pop the way I wanted it to. Speaking of things that pop, though, I like that Space Invader a lot. It's encouraging me to play around with lighting effects a lot more in the future, so look out for that. So there you have it, 3 character concepts for some new 80s teen superheroes. Who knows, maybe they've given you some inspiration for your own Masks campaign. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you're interested in this kind of thing, please let me know. There are another 6 playbooks I haven't covered yet, so there's definitely scope for a follow-up video at some point. And then maybe Jackalope, Pulse, Kid Scapegoat, and the others can see the light of day. As ever, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.